Any questions? Hit me. Okay, go ahead, sir.
How do you think the fans will react to the show? Like, you want to shock them, you want to impress them?
I want people to have fun, man. You know, really, I want people to be able to listen to complicated music that's very heavy and performed well and like good instrumentation and everything. But I don't want to impose, like I don't have a message, I don't want to impose anything. I mean, I've got my own, you know, issues that is like basically the framework of everything I do. However, I try and keep it vague so as not to really impose that, because really, again, it's like, I think it's entertainment, you know, and I think that there shouldn't necessarily be a limit on how far you can push these concepts. But what I want the audience to come away from, I want them to come away going, fuck yeah. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, so as you said, Finland was the only place so far that accepted Ziltoid.
Absolutely.
Now, as Frank Zappa said, well, asked, does humor belong into music? What's your take on that?
Well, I think it depends on the personality, right? I think there's some people that that humor has no place in music, right? But as the person who's writing it, man, it's like, you know, I think what they say, it's like laughing is like the last refuge of the damned, right? So I think it's like if what are you gonna do? It's either you're gonna laugh or you're gonna like beat your head against a concrete wall, right? So, you know, I think humor is great. I mean, it's like, I'm interested in quantum physics and flatulence, right? Like, I mean, I think there's like something to be said for like the combination of the two, right? And the Ziltoid definitely represents both those things. So it's up to the person, right? And for me, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, so we'll go and start.
How long did you work for the show?
Dude, 18 hours a day for the past 5 months.
When did you start?
Like as soon as I got the phone call, like that night. You know, it's like really.
1 year ago or 6 months ago?
I'd say about 6-7 months ago. But it's like, you know, again, it's like there's limited resources in terms of like just manpower, you know. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to make the most representative of what the ultimate goal is in the visual element, right? But more than that, it's like, of course, there's like the visual things and the humor and all that, but it's really serious music, right? And I think a lot of the reason why I have hesitated going to live shows typically in the past is because it's usually just like a shitty version of the record, right? So for me, of course, there's a live element to it. It's never going to be perfect, but you know, I really wanted to use this opportunity to make the band sound right. You know, I think that the record deserves to be played properly, right? And I think that also bodes well for the future of the Ziltoid project, because, you know, again, it's like if it's like a ramshackle version of the record, it's just like it becomes a parody. But if it's musically like, man, that's really good, then really it's like, and there's puppets. You know? So, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Let's talk about Devin Townsend project.
Of course.
So, what about Deconstruction? When it will be released?
It's on my hard drive right now. You know what I mean?
All right.
Ziltoid's calling the shots on that one currently, right? And I'm having a bit of an arm wrestle with him about the direction. But it's like the music's written, and as has been the case with my musical output for 20 years, it's very much polarized. There's like one side of it that is melodic and, you know, fairly social, and there's another side of it that's atonal and, you know, basically doesn't want to hang out with anybody. It's like a misanthropic sort of like entity, and Ziltoid is more than willing to represent that side of it, right? And I'm just kind of, hey dude, like, fill your boots, man. Here's a concept, right? Oh, you want me to produce it? No worries, right? But the Devin Townsend project is something that has been kind of evolving alongside of the Ziltoid project, which has, you know, not to play the woe is me card, but it's definitely compounded the amount of work, because not only do we have this one show for Ziltoid that is like, you know, has to be great, but we've had to learn 15 albums worth of shit to play the other stuff, right? And again, you know, every step of the way it's been a learning curve in order to get the in-ears going. It's like all of a sudden we realize, oh, okay, well the Ziltoid stuff sounds great, so now we got to do that with the other stuff. So it's just been this like, and the process is far from over. I believe that the Ziltoid project and the Devin Townsend project, if you want to look at it in that way, are probably 1.5 years, 2 years away from being where I truly want it to be. Okay. But again, this festival tomorrow, regardless of how well it goes, you know, has been really the impetus for it to continue.
and still we get to see both sides of you.
No, that's so
In a
does
way,
my
at
wife.
least.
So do my buddies. I'll just grab you first.
I'm most curious about the actual puppets which you keep in now, and the fact that I read that you took your own hair and glued it on. Is that?
Yeah, well, again, because he was such an exaggerated personification of that side of me, when I cut my hair off, I kept it, you know. And I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe I was just growing it for him all along, right? So we put it on him, right? And like, you know, I remember I right before we came here, I had to catch the ferry. I had to stay at my mother's house, and she came down and she saw the puppet with my hair on it, and she's just like, "That's the creepiest thing I've ever seen." And I'm like, no, it's an exaggerated personification of it. She's like, yeah, it's creepy. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, about tomorrow's show, it will be so special night. Will you be making any video recordings for foreign fans to see?
We'll see. I mean, it's like, again, you know, it's a real special thing for me in a lot of ways, but it's also the first one, you know, and it could very potentially, you know, someone, like, it might just be Finland only, right? Yeah. Other people might just be like, wow, that was really ridiculous, right? But I mean, I think that because it's the first one, it's special for me as like an inauguration of it, and because it's been so grassroots. It's not like there's been a team of Ziltoidians putting together this show. It's been me, you know. The band's learned it, but like the video elements, the puppet, all that, like the frame that he's sitting behind, the green screen shit. I mean, I did it all, right? So, you know, it's a labor of love. However, is it like Cats from Broadway? Like, okay, next.
Yeah, well, just gonna ask about the Ziltoid Square. The
yeah, Z Squared. Yeah.
So, what does Ziltoid get up to in the sequel?
Well, you see, basically, for some reason, his philosophical pursuits have mirrored my own. I can't quite figure it out, but. I think on some level he was like arrogant enough to assume that he could figure out the secrets of the universe, and then realized very subtly and profoundly when he had a little tiny Ziltoidian baby that he doesn't know shit. So at the end of the first Ziltoid record, the you know, the twist or the silly little thing is that it's like he's a projection of somebody who's powerless in his own life. However you want to, you know, pursue that. But when he goes to Tuska, now he's got a big head on his shoulder again, right? He was okay. He was like, oh, okay, I work in a coffee shop. But now he's like, damn, I get to fucking headline this festival? God damn, I'm a god, right? But at the end of the show, he realizes that he's just like, oh, wait, no, I'm actually just kind of a nerdy alien, right? So he gets relegated to the second dimension after this, you know, just for his, you know, hubris, right? He's been so... arrogant that now he gets like condemned to this comic book, and we're making a graphic novel that leads into the second Ziltoid record, and in that he's able to exercise a lot of these kind of like philosophical and like power hungry kind of ideals, because it's like a void, right? And then once he figures out basically his hang-ups by the end of the comic book, then Z Squared comes out, right? So, but again, like Tuska in Finland is totally involved with the next record, so we'll see what happens.